to release. His sister was arrested for acting against the security of the country and for links with foreigners. Thanks to the actions of the Iranian authorities, that is exactly what happened.
And to discuss this further, we are joined from London by I-24 News UK correspondent Jonathan Sacerdoti. Good morning, Jonathan. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning, Meredith.
Now, considering all the media attention this is getting, and obviously, as we saw in the last report, volleyball teams around the world are gathering together to protest her detention. Do you think Iran will release her, considering all this attention it's getting? And what is the British government doing about it?
It's hard to know what will happen next. The British government is obviously expressing its concern at her arrest and then her treatment, and especially their concern at the charges which she's being put up for. But it's not clear that there's anything the British government can actually do, despite good intentions, because she is a dual citizen, both of Iran and of the United Kingdom. And in those circumstances, it's very hard under international law for Britain to do anything when she's in the country which she's actually also a citizen of. So really, the British are expressing their urge for something to be done, but it's not clear what pressure they can actually bring to bear. And as you saw there in the report, since 1979, women in Iran have been forbidden from watching men play sports or from mixing with male spectators. So when she wasn't necessarily in the crowd watching the sport, she was outside the crowd protesting against it, and they have brought these trumped-up charges of espionage as soon as they found out that she was in fact a dual British citizen. Some have suggested that this is an attempt to undermine the often incorrectly labelled moderate Hassan Rouhani by the more extreme forces in Iran, who want to undermine his upcoming détente with the West and show that they are still strong and powerful against the West and countries like Britain. So really, she is a pawn in a much bigger game between the West and Iran.
And you know, one detail in the story that is said to have become a struggle between political factions. So are there more complexities here than meets the eye within the Iranian system?
Within the Iranian system, it's believed that there are those who do not like the détente that seems to be upcoming between the West and Iran itself, of course, with those nuclear talks being the most noticeable part of that. We also have to bear in mind, though, that Hassan Rouhani is not quite the moderate that many in the West have wanted him to be. During his first year in office, 773 people were executed, compared to 530 people during Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's last years in office. And that's according to data from the Iran Human Rights Documentation Center. So even if we do look at this as some sort of internal power struggle within Iran, we would be wrong if we considered it a struggle between one very reasonable moderate side and one more extreme side, again showing that the hope for this poor woman who is being kept in prison now, possibly for up to 6 years, under the new charges being brought against her, we would be foolish if we believed that this is a done deal and that with a little bit of British pressure she will be released. But of course that is the hope of her family and of the British government, that somehow or other they can negotiate some sort of release for her and she may be pardoned from these trumped up charges of espionage and endangering national security, neither of which seems very likely for a newly graduated student from SOAS here in London, who is simply working out there to help street children learning to read through a charity, and was then going to come back to the UK and apply to do a master's degree.
Yeah, and you know, as you mentioned, you said perhaps her family can do something quickly, Jonathan, because we're running out of time. Can you tell us a bit about the social media efforts by her brother in London to release her?
Absolutely. Her brother has now put up a petition online against her treatment and has collected over 700,000 signatures. Whether or not that's something the Iranian regime will observe and listen to is another question.
I would think pessimistically, perhaps not, but it does seem to be getting a lot of traction, and this case is certainly shocking the international community and especially those in the volleyball world. So we'll see what happens with it. Jonathan Sacerdoti, thank you very much for being with us today. And coming up, Google signed a